Bishop Morris Salesian High School is the all-boys Catholic high school in the heart of Boyle Heights. It's the East Side community with a long history of gang problems. The neighborhood's respect for Salesian High is shown by the fact that it's extremely rare for crime problems to spill over onto the school. So it was unusual when a couple of officers from the LAPD's Hollenbeck division turned up on campus Wednesday. As it turned out, officers Alberto Ledesma and Jonathan Maldonado were here to be honored for helping a Salesian freshman, Javier Casales, in a way we don't often hear about. Last Thursday, 14-year-old Javier needed to have his picture taken at school.
I was at home, we were running late, and I didn't know how to tie a tie, and I asked my mom, and she said the same, I don't know how to tie a tie.
YouTube videos didn't help, so Javier decided he would get some assistance from one of the teachers or counselors when he got to Salesian. Javier's mother, though, she wasn't quite so confident. In fact, she was getting desperate the closer they got to school.
So we're driving, and she says, we're going to be late, just ask, someone. And I was like, okay. So she's like, ask officers. I'm like, no. I paused and thought about it. I'm like, no, I don't want to. And she's like, you have to. That's all you, that's kind of the only option. So I said, all right. So I flagged them down, and I asked if they could tie my tie, and they said sure.
They didn't hesitate to tie. They were happy. They were just willing to help. So they asked us to pull over and made his knot, and off we were.
This past Wednesday at Salesian, Javier presented gift bags to officers Maldonado and Ledesma to show his and the high school's appreciation for what they did. And we couldn't resist showing you an outtake from Fox 11 reporter Sandra Endo's live shot for Good Day LA. Watch Officer Maldonado on the left side of the screen.
You can stay here. Oh.
It's sticking out, dude.
It was an example of LAPD's motto with the emphasis this time on to serve.
Thank you so much.
Good Sunday morning, everybody. The officers are here with us this morning, Jonathan Maldonado and Alberto Ledesma.
Thank you for having us.
Sir.
You're both, what, about 8-9-year veterans?
10 years.
10 years.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever, in all of that time, ever had a call, or not a call, but ever had an experience like this?
Not tying a tie, no.
Which one of you was it? Oh, it was you.
Yes, sir.
How did you know how to tie a tie? And I guess we should admit, tell the folks what you wear as neckties.
Unfortunately, the secret's out. We wear clip-ons. I don't know how many times I've done this.
And it's for safety reasons.
For safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you see, they can just clip that off. For me, I'm permanently. How did you know how to tie a knot?
The only reason I knew how to tie a tie was from my time in the Marine Corps. And I learned how to tie a tie, and it stuck with me, my one knot. So that's pretty much it. That was the extent of my tying experience.
So you were just what, on basic patrol?
Yes.
You were not responding to a call or anything like that?
No.
What part of the city, or what part of Hollenbeck were you in?
The far east side, right off of Cesar Chavez.
Cesar Chavez and...
near Indiana.
You're right at the city limits there.
Right at the limit, yes.
So when you first see someone come running up to you, you're thinking what?
Anything and everything. For the most part, you kind of get that sixth sense. You have your some time and some experience. I thought at the most maybe they were lost and needed directions. But I got to tell you, I wasn't expecting to be asked if I knew how to tie a tie.
Now, I've covered the law enforcement for a few decades here, and there was a time in this department's history when most officers, most deputies would be very suspicious of a situation like this because they think you were being set up. Did that cross your mind at all?
No.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. I think there has to be a level of trust between the community and officers. A great deal of the work that we're able to do and get done is because of the community's help. And this whole event, for what it's worth, has been a blessing, and thank God for it, because it shows that networking between community and law enforcement. We rely heavily on radio calls and doing callbacks with community members when they observe a crime. And it's because of their efforts and because they're willing to take a step forward that we're able to do the job that we do.
I wonder how your status has changed out on the street since this happened and since you guys have become famous.
We're now known as the tie experts, pretty much.
Yes.
And as you, I don't know, you're taking a code 7 or maybe you're just basic patrol, people recognize you?
Yes, they actually did. Was it yesterday?
The McDonald's.
I was over there, and some guy asked me to help him with his tie, obviously in a joking manner. But yeah, they got me.
Yeah.
How does this, how does this change the way you look at your job? Because you're not the bad guys as often. Right now you're enjoying the glow of being the really good guys, as opposed to being the guys who are sometimes not so glowing.
I think my partner mentioned it best in one of our interviews. This job requires you to wear many hats. You have to be able to be that guy that's helping out with a tie. The next minute, you have to be that guy that's willing to go hand-on with someone, with a knife or a gun, and respond to that call and help that citizen out. It's just a matter of being able to turn it on and turn it off at any moment's given time.
Sure, and that it's not easy to learn how to do that.
It takes time.
Yeah. Do you see this changing the overall community relationship in Hollenbeck?
I can see it doing some change, especially since recently there's been a whole lot on the media of a lot of negativity, and I think this will just be a reminder, especially for people that have always had trust in them. Sometimes they start to see too much of something, and definitely it's going to persuade them to start believing different, even though they've never had a real reason to not like us. And I think this will just a reminder is what it is.
Absolutely, and Hollenbeck recently has been in somewhat of the limelight with the foot beats they've put out, and our chief Perez recently had a meeting with us and reminded us once again of our status of what we're here for, the community as guardians. And the people are going to see the officers out there. They're out there, they're walking the beat. There's officers that have been out there many years in Central Division and many of the bureaus throughout the city that know, they know the shop owners by name. They grew up there, they still have family there. They're very community oriented. And thank God that Xavier's mother put this out on social media to be able to give the public a different perspective of what officers do every day.
And there's that photograph, that great photograph of the two of you there. Did knowing how to tie that knot just come back to you quickly, or did you have to try a few times?
It came back. It came back quickly when we were doing a segment with Inside Edition, and there was a camera there. I started fumbling around a little bit, but it comes back. Yeah.
You think? Have you had time to think about how this experience and the attention that it's gotten is going to change people's minds in terms of being more willing to help the department if they happen to know who a suspect is, or to point somebody out when a crime's been committed and the suspect ran away?
I would hope so. I would hope so. We've mentioned before, within a matter of days, my partner and I are going to pass out of the limelight. But I hope that this leaves an impact in the community, that we are here to serve and to protect the community. And it's a joint effort between the community and law enforcement. We rely heavily on their support, and we know that they rely heavily on trusting us as a department. And we hope that this somehow has opened the doors and brought into their view what we're here for, and that's to serve.
What other divisions? Have you worked anywhere besides Hollenbeck?
I worked Central Division and Southeast.
I've worked only 77th and Hollenbeck. So
those are both, for people who are not aware, those are both stations. They're tough stations. They're tough places to work. But in another way, as a journalist, we're moving around. And today I might be covering a story in 77th or Newton, and tomorrow it may be in Devonshire, Club Dev as they call it, some of the other places. And one of the things that I've noticed is you go into a neighborhood like Hollenbeck, and when the police come along and say, "Get back," people get back.
Yes.
When you're working in, say, in the far West Valley, "Get back," somebody says, "I know the mayor." You notice that?
I've seen it firsthand.
That's a great point. And some of the questions that have come up in some of these interviews, and some of the Spanish stations as well, is people fear the police. People are afraid to approach the police. And if I can have a second, I'd like to share something with you. I brought my Bible with me, and I want to share something with you, straight from God's Word in regards to authority. This is Romans 13. It says, "Everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God. and those in position of authority have been placed there by God. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against God, what he has instituted, and they will be punished. For the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right. They do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. Would you like to live without fear for the authorities? Do what is right, and they will honor you. The authorities are God's servants, sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you that as God's servants. Sent for that very purpose of punishing those who are doing wrong. So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience.
Have you ever read that to a suspect?
I've read a great many things to suspects. But no one has any reason to fear the police. No one. If there's any, many times we'll, in our investigations, possibly detain somebody for an investigation. Simply because you're detained doesn't mean you're under arrest. But the more you're willing to cooperate with us, the more we can clear things up, and then maybe if you're not the person of interest, but then we could focus on who the person of interest is.
Well, today we're focusing on the two of you and the really positive image that you have put out about the department. And let's hope that it lasts more than a couple of days.
I hope so.
We appreciate both of you taking your time. They're here on their day off, so we're especially grateful to them both. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Stick with us, because when we come back, we're going to have another segment from that assembly on Wednesday. Very unusual fellow. You'll meet him in about 2 minutes.